And you cannot constantly be putting yourself in a position of reliving trauma just to educate people, especially if they don't want to be educated. So I foolishly stopped the recording. I was talking to myself, which is slightly a little bit more crazy than I normally am, but we're back. So if you guys have been paying attention, then you know that there's the Black Lives Matter movement that is happening across the world at the moment. And it's amazing to see artists that I support and YouTubers especially using their platform to educate, especially white people who I've not seen step up in such magnitude. It's amazing to see, and it can really give you hope. But at the same time, I have been feeling really conflicted because I felt as if I'm not sharing enough petitions, if I'm not signing enough, if I'm not donating enough, or I'm not spreading enough information, that I'm not doing enough, and that I myself am detracting from the movement, or that I just don't really care. I'm just giving myself excuses. And it's very hard to find the right balance in my mind between staying informed and keeping other people informed, and also protecting my mental health. And if I engage in anything other than BLM, I feel like that's taking away from the substance of when I do share and spread information. And it's a very hard thing to contend with, because on the one hand, I'm enraged, and the only way to fully get that out is to just talk and to try and convert as many people almost as possible. But at the other side, that anger is tiring. It's exhausting on so many levels, and you can't keep it up. For me, I use the analogy of a car. You're driving to a very important destination and you need to get there, and it feels like everybody else is counting on you, even though there are other drivers in the car. But if you do not stop, then you'll run out of petrol. You'll never make it to your destination. I feel like that's something that we definitely need to keep in mind. As Black people, it's important to remember that you're not fighting this alone, and that taking breaks is just as important. And I'll try and explain why and how you can protect your mental health. I'm a bit more downbeat than usual, but that's just because this is hard to talk about. Even if I'm not talking directly about racism, anyway. Oh, no. So the first thing I want to elucidate, is that a word? I hope it is. The first thing I want to expound on, I can't say just normal words. It's Cambridge in me. It's not your job to educate people. I keep fidgeting with stuff, I'm sorry. This is probably gonna ruin the audio. Primarily, it's not your job to educate non-Black people that racism exists, how pervasive it is, and what forms it takes, especially at this point in the movement. If people do not know, or they're not listening, that's because they do not want to be educated. And it causes you more pain to try and talk to deliberately obtuse people, literally a brick wall, when you can better spend that time preparing for your next wave of information. It's like going into battle. You're fighting white supremacy, and there are the big boss threats that you need a lot of ammo for. That's defunding the police. That's spreading useful educational resources. That's lobbying the government for change and to actually convict people of their crimes. That is fighting the big boss. You need all the ammo you can get, and you need your bulletproof vest. Now, when you go out into the field and you spend your time trying to cut ivy off of a brick, and it's poisonous ivy, all it's doing is chipping away at your health so that you're not best prepared to fight the big boss who comes later on. It'd be a better use of your time and your ammo, in this analogy, to stock up, to collect all of the resources you need to fight, and then do that instead. You collecting your resources is you protecting your mental health and taking a break when necessary. So we're constantly feeling this rage and anger and kind of hate on a level is exhausting. And you cannot constantly be putting yourself in a position of reliving trauma just to educate people, especially if they don't want to be educated. By all means, we need to spread awareness. We need to spread resources to keep this movement alive. This isn't just something that we can post about on our story or on our feed and then forget about. But everybody needs to be pulling their weight. Everybody should be pulling their weight to educate themselves and to educate those around them. So it's not just on the backs of one person, and you're not carrying the burden alone. So if you need to take a break, take one. And also, on the back of that, I would say schedule your activism like it's a job or like it's revision that you're doing for an exam. Because if you want to see lasting change, it requires consistency and you sticking to a schedule every day. That is the same with activism. There are some people whose full-time job is activism, but there are other people who that isn't our full-time job, but it is something that we deeply engage in and care about. The same analogy that I would use as with the car, just out of focus, is that you need to take breaks to stock up and plan when you're going to be driving so that you do not run out of fuel. This is the same with your activism. If you plan when you're going to go onto your social media pages or when you're going to post, then this can help you see physically or know mentally that you are still contributing to the movement and you're still doing work to uproot this white supremacy in our society, but you're also taking the time that you need to refuel, and that will help your message be stronger, clearer, and it will help you continue this movement on when it's past a lot of people's minds, because for them it was only a trend. Off the back of that, you need to know your triggers and avoid them. I have realized that there is no point in me reading the comment section, even though sometimes I like to get triggered and do it anyway. Don't do as I do, do as I say. Know your triggers, know what upsets you, and don't put yourself in that position to be upset, because the only person that is really hurting is you, because they are happy in their ignorance. They are happy with what they decided to post online for the whole world to see and speak from that point of view. You will send the message out that is meant to educate them anyway. You not responding directly to that comment will not stop you from educating people so that they don't make comments like that in the future. So even when I do ignore my triggers and I go and I read the comment, I don't reply to them because there's no point. What I do instead is I will take that comment and I'll put it on my Instagram story and I'll talk about why that comment is unhelpful, why that comment is adding the daily oppression that people face. And that is my way of ensuring that I'm educating people and making sure that people understand. Because for a lot of people, they will make these comments ignorantly. They'll just be saying the wrong thing. But when they reply to you, a lot of people, their ego takes over and they don't want to admit that they're wrong. So trying to talk to them on a public forum just normally doesn't go well. And again, it's not a valid use of your time. Sometimes your triggers can be a bit harder to identify. So later in this video, I'm going to give you like some tips about what you can do to just unwind. And I was taking my own advice. I decided to watch Jumanji, the old one with Robbie Williams in it, and I was getting so triggered. If you guys haven't seen it, a Robbie Williams character gets stuck in a game when he was young and he was playing with this girl. I think her name was Sarah. He gets stuck in the game. Sarah sees him get sucked in and then she's traumatized from seeing that. He comes out of the game later on in the movie, and in order to end it, they need to play as a group. And she's like, I can't play this game because it was so triggering for me to see it happen to you. And then people didn't believe me, so that really affected my mental health. So actually, can we just like not play? And he's like, if we don't play, this will keep happening. This stuff will keep happening. I will still be stuck, bound to this game, and I cannot do it alone. And she was like, but what if I get stuck in the game like you did? I don't want that for me. And he said, well, you wouldn't get stuck in the game like me because I wouldn't stop playing like you did. I was getting so triggered. I think you guys can see the parallels. I couldn't even watch Jumanji. I couldn't even watch the film without feeling triggered. And I didn't know that that was going to come up. I didn't know that was going to be in the movie. I thought I was just going to enjoy some nice, light-hearted fun. And so the only thing you can do in that situation is to pause it and decide if you want to continue. Is to pause it and see if you're watching it with someone, you can have a conversation and that helps you, or if not having a conversation is better, then just say, I'm really sorry, but I don't want to talk about this right now because it's really not helpful. Maybe we can talk about it later when I'm in a better place of mind. That format might help you better than just being like, I'm not trying to talk about that right now, because some people can get upset if you say that. And also, the further along you get with taking breaks. I think the easier will be to distance certain things. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. Anyway, that can help you. But just remember, there's no point going out of your way to get hurt for other people's satisfaction. That's what it is. Another way to protect your mental health is to talk to people. I've already mentioned that if you're triggered, you can have a conversation, but at the same time, psychologists have identified that Black people face racial trauma, especially when talking about racism. It makes us relive our own experiences, and there's only so much you can do when you're within your own head, when you're in your own perspective. So it does help to come out of that, and also just to talk to other people and see that you're not alone, and maybe they have tips that can help you, like me. There's also Black Minds Matter, which offers free therapy to Black people, and because a lot of people have been donating to them, there's more provisions available if you want to check them out. If you don't want to talk to a psychologist, you don't have to. You can just talk to some friends that you truly trust. And again, as much as you don't want to be overburdening them, sometimes it can help to lean on them when you can. I mean, that's the reason why they're there sometimes, is to help you through the hard times as well as to provide support for the good times. But yeah, speak to people. Okay, now I'm just going to go through a quick fire list of things that you can do to support your mental health, because otherwise I'll just sit here and talk for hours. Take walks. Getting outside when you can is amazing. Get outside, be with nature. That really does help to just still and calm the mind, and I don't understand how Mother Nature did it, but she did it, and so make use of that. Also, I didn't mention this in the video, but just doing any physical activity is really helpful, because it just helps to work that energy out of your body and repurpose it into something productive. So taking a walk, going for a run, doing an exercise, just jumping up and down, literally stretching, I found really helps focus the brain on the current task, and the higher the level of physicality, the more brain power it will take you to do, and so that can be really useful. And definitely go without your devices. But I will say it's been very weird going outside at this moment, because we're all still kind of self-quarantining most of the time, and so our activism is happening within our own home and within our own spaces, so it can kind of feel just like it's in your own head, like, wait, do other people also know that this is going on? So when I leave my house and I see other people, I think, oh, it's so strange, like, you guys are also thinking about Black Lives Matter? Because it's on the news, and it's on the radio stations, and it's on TVs, and it's everywhere. And I've noticed, like, sometimes I'm just walking around my area, and why people will go out of their way to be nice to me, and I'm thinking, y'all weren't doing this before, but okay. Anyway, side note. Spend some time with your loved ones. This one leads on to just embracing Black joy. I read a post that helped me express these feelings perfectly. But in a world where you can almost kill Black people with immunity, where you can minimize their voices so that people question whether they're telling the truth or not, it's important to rehumanize us in social media, rehumanize us in our own life and spaces, and show that there's more to being Black than just experiencing racism. This can really help to provide hope and joy, truly joy, to people who might be losing it. And John Boyega put up, John Boyega put up a video on his Instagram, so check that out. I would really encourage you to do so. But it's important to destabilize this idea that, you know, we are one-faceted beings by showing and relishing in our own humanity. And one way of doing that is to just embrace our Black joy and to see us just living our unencumbered best lives. So do that. Take some time to still your mind, whether or not this is meditation or prayer, or simply just sitting and being still in silence. This has really helped me to just get comfortable with hearing nature around you rather than always having some sort of media on. It can really help you just calm everything that's going on here. Sometimes I wake up and I just feel like I'm in a fog, that I'm just bombarded by all these tasks that I have to do, and then I can't really focus on anything, and my mental health suffers, I find, when I'm in that mood. And when I take time to just speak slowly and also just calm my mind, it really is beneficial to me. Give yourself allocated media breaks, cut-off times, really give yourself a curfew. Do a media detox is important. A lot of people I see have just been deleting certain apps, completely cutting themselves off, and if you need to do that, then do that. And lastly, you do not have to feel guilty for your enjoyment and self-flagellate yourself. Self-flagellate yourself? You do not need to constantly suffer and experience racial trauma to educate somebody else and to end racism. It's not necessary, boo-boo. It's not. Engage in black poetry, engage in black movies, read black books that aren't about oppression, because we do write about other things. Listen to black music. Chloe and Halle came through and I was engaging. I was deeply engaging. Dress yourself up. I woke up one day and I was just feeling bummy. That's the only way I can describe it. Especially because I'd just been bogged down revising for exams. I hadn't really taken time for me. I always make sure to wash my face whenever I wake up so that I can just feel more fresh and awake, and that does help me feel a little bit more alive. But I've started wearing normal clothes again, dressing up my face. Do what you can do to make yourself feel better. Now, in the description box I'm going to link a bunch of black entertainment that I've really enjoyed, that can kickstart you if you're not sure where to go without being triggered. Hopefully this doesn't trigger you. And so you can open that up and just deep dive into enjoyment. And hopefully once you've rested, you can get back to the movement, feeling a bit stronger and more empowered. Anyway, I hope that that's helped you guys. Again, as always, if I've missed something, put it in the comments, share the knowledge, share the love. Share this video to someone who you feel would benefit from it. Oh, one thing I did want to share before I go is this quote that my mum wrote for me ages ago, and honestly I don't think she truly understands how amazing of a woman she is. But this quote, I have it up on my wall all the time. I find that it's really applicable in this situation. So that's what I'm going to leave you with, and take from it what you will. Cueing dramatic reading. 3, 2. Don't get angry or enraged or insulted. Rise above the... Flick your light back on and shine it brighter than ever, and fall so deeply in love with your life that anyone who tried to wrong you becomes a laughable, ridiculous, distant memory. Love you and your journey. That's all from me. Bye guys. I'ma go eat!